Hi, everyone. My name's Rebecca Mandeville. I'm a psychotherapist and the author of Rejected, Shamed, and Blamed. And this is Beyond Family Scapegoating, my new channel. And I want to thank you all again for your support. It's been great to read your comments. And I'm starting to have people ask me questions, which I was hoping for. And I'd like to start answering some of those questions. So this will be a new series of super short videos where I will answer one question at a time, and I'll post those on my feed. And if a question appeals to you, you can take a minute and check it out. So this first question that I'll answer comes up a lot. I get asked this often from my blog subscribers, from my clients. It came up often when people were sharing their story in the FSA research studies that I conducted. And it's a theme, definitely, with people who identify as having suffered from family scapegoating abuse. So the question is, why does it seem that I get scapegoated wherever I go, even beyond my family of origin? For example, I'll hear stories of people feeling that they get scapegoated at work, organizations, any kind of group that they're involved in. They repeatedly end up in a scapegoat role. Now, I'm sure some people would hear this and go, well, it must be something that they're doing. Well, not necessarily. When you have been scapegoated in your family at the level that I describe as family scapegoating abuse, for example, an infant can be born with a serious illness, and if the parents are already stressed, that alone could draw negative attention toward the infant. It's just something that can happen in dysfunctional families when there's not enough resources and parents don't have the inner resources or the skills to be able to parent in nurturing ways when they may have many, many different stressors in their life, and that sickly infant just puts them over the edge. So this can start young. It can start in utero, in cases where a child isn't wanted, and a child, the pregnancy poses an inconvenience to one or both parents. So that negative feeling toward the child can start even before birth, I would propose. So if your brain neurons are developing around the scapegoating behaviors being exhibited toward you, this is how you can develop complex trauma in childhood. And remember, complex trauma can occur when a child is suffering from chronic and repeated stressors in their environment from which there is no escape. So if your brain literally and the neuron connections are developing around attachment trauma, betrayal trauma, feeling that you're the recipient of negative shaming, attention, or you feel rejected on some level, sometimes very subtly, it has an impact, even if you can't remember specific events. So in that kind of an environment, you may have developed survival behaviors, trauma responses that helped you cope and get by in an environment that felt threatening, rejecting, unstable, non-nurturing, scary. And those responses include the fight response, the flight response, the freeze response, the fawn or submit response, and a fifth one that doesn't get talked about much, the cry for help response. And that can come out in all kinds of behaviors that might seem magnified or dramatic. It could be associated with, for example, borderline personality traits and features, but it's actually a cry for help with someone who does not even know that they need help in many cases. So what's this all have to do with getting scapegoated wherever you go? Well, your neurons have connected around the scapegoating abuse and those rejecting behaviors from parents or siblings or wherever the rejection was coming from, and the shaming and blaming behaviors that were thrown your way. And you may have learned trauma responses that ultimately might show up in other groups and systems that could draw attention to you in a similar way that you experienced in your family. Years ago, I used to give lectures and speak at large gatherings of therapists, MFT Association and such, on how our organizational systems, our work systems, can mirror our family system, our family of origin, and that we all go into groups on some level being compelled subconsciously to take on our childhood role. And it takes a lot of consciousness to fight that. And if there's people in that group, that work organization where you work, who has traits of a parent that was abusive or narcissistic, someone who didn't treat you well, treated you in rejecting ways, that could throw you into your trauma response, the primary ones that you use to get by in your family, and the negative feedback loop starts playing out again and again and again. You may think that you've landed a job and you're working with people who bear no resemblance at all to anyone in your family, and be shocked and amazed and horrified to discover within a few months you feel like you're right back in your family of origin, and somehow you are in the scapegoat role again. I can't tell you how often this happens, including with people who have high consciousness, who have a lot of awareness, who are very aware of their behaviors, and it just seems like they're back in the crab pot, so to speak. They can't crawl out. No matter what they do, they might have even ended contact with abusive family, and suddenly they feel like they're working with abusive family members. It seems that you can't get away from it. And I like to think of this as the trickster in Native American lore, that the universe keeps giving you the same trick until you get it, until you wake up and see it for what it is. And when you get at a deep level that you are reenacting behaviors from childhood that you may not even be conscious of, and you make the commitment to do the work and start to change what you're in control of on your end, and change some of your behaviors and patterns and make different choices, you'll find your life changing as well. And I'm not saying you'll never get scapegoated again, but you'll recognize it the minute it's happening, and you'll know how to handle it. And that may be to talk about it directly, the behaviors that aren't working for you. It might be something you're just aware of and you keep a note of in the back of your head and observe. Or you may decide you're in a place you don't need to be and you leave. You find other arrangements for yourself. But you don't have to keep reliving the pattern, the scapegoating dance again and again and again, or I should say the sick, dysfunctional family dance. You can change your dance steps. And if other people can learn those healthier, more life-enhancing dance steps and they want to dance with you and you want to dance with them, great. But if someone's just stepping on your toes, or if you're being healthy in your healthy dance and they feel like you're stepping on their toes, well, you just might not be able to dance together. So this is an overview of how early it can start, how the neurons form connections during that early brain development. 80% of the brain is developed between ages 4 and 6, and all those neural pathways are forming. And for some children in traumatizing environments, dysfunctional homes that don't feel safe, loving, or supportive, that's what your brain's developed around. So that is a more holistic way of understanding how you might get scapegoated wherever you go. You may be behaving in ways you're not aware of based on family conditioning, based on complex trauma responses and behaviors. You may be unconsciously attracted to workplaces that feel like your family of origin, even if it's dysfunctional and uncomfortable, because we go to what we know. Until we wake up and get the awareness and see things from a more expansive perspective, we will go to what we know, even if it is more abuse. It might just come in a different package. So if you're feeling like you're scapegoated wherever you go, be curious. Just start noticing. How are you feeling around certain people where you feel scapegoated? What behaviors are you exhibiting? Are you going into fawn submit? Are you making yourself vulnerable to predatory people or predatory employers? Not everyone will relate to this. Their situation may be different. But if you are someone where you feel like you're scapegoated wherever you go, my guess would be, and I could be wrong, but you may have been the target of scapegoating behaviors from a very, very early age. And you may have complex trauma symptoms that's supporting some behaviors that are making you vulnerable to being cast in the role of scapegoat today as an adult. So thanks to the subscriber that asked me this question in one of the comments on my latest video, and I keeping track of other questions. If you got something out of this video, please bop the thumbs up. Let YouTube know you like it so that they'll put it on other people's home feeds who may need to hear this message. And if you haven't subscribed already, I hope you do. And I'll look forward to answering more questions from subscribers in the near future.